Miguel, what is up?
Hey, Mike.
Ben, Adele, good to see you. Brooke is in the house. Good, good, good. All right. Mark, good to see you, sir. You got Heath. Everybody have their cameras on. This will be a full participation event.
Hey,
Randy,
Mike, I'm going off camera and Mike because I'm in the car.
gotcha. Cool, cool, cool. V is here. All right. Welcome, guys. Welcome. Hopefully, you guys had a good weekend. Drop in the chat. What did you do? Give me a highlight of the weekend, and then I'll tell you what I did. Traveled to Colombia. Nice. I think that's probably going to be one of the more unique things that you're going to see on here. Okay, maybe not, because Brooke took 33 teenage girls camping. Dear Lord, what are you, a sucker for punishment? Gosh, sounds amazing. Oh, sorry to hear that, Feith. That is always a challenging time. Basketball games. Got a new gym membership. Nice. Ninja Warrior Gym. Yeah, that'll kick your butt. Nice. Oh my gosh. Phil took a nap. All weekend, Phil took a nap. That was his highlight. I like it. Hey, sleep is important. Got to recharge. All right, we're going to do a little bit of a roll call on these ones because we're going to be moving very quick, and I want to make sure that everybody knows what we're doing here. Let's take some notes. All right. Cool. Is there anybody who has not yet completed the homework sheets that we discussed on the launch kit call? Just drop in the chat if you have or have not. Just say yes or no. It's okay. Yeah, the assessments. Yep. There's 2 of them. Cool, cool. All right. Yeah, be safe if you're driving, guys. Your safety is more important than your answer, but I appreciate you. Okay. All right. So if you have not, what I want to do is make sure that we have that information. So if you go, let me just revisit my screen here, make sure I'm speaking to it properly. If you go into the LK cohort space, you'll see the very first pinned post, official start of the cohort. And below my video are the 2 assessments that we need, the life's assessment worksheet and the habits assessment. So if you haven't done those, you're definitely going to want to do this. And this is a good segue into this whole launch kit cohort scenario, guys. We're going to be moving really quick. And if you miss one thing, then it means you have 2 things to work on the next week. And then if you miss another thing, it's just going to start snowballing and you're going to feel a little bit undone. So I just want to encourage you, like, don't go easy on this stuff. Again, imperfect action, right? So let's make sure that we get it clicked off, put some urgency behind it. A good mentor of mine once told me that casual attitudes in business create casualties in business. So don't go casual, lean into it, and you'll be all right. All right, let's get in. So what I have for you guys are some slides, some supporting slides to go over Module 1. I know most of you guys here have probably gone through Module 1 already. All right. But if you have not, or if this was your first time rather, then I want to make sure that you have some supporting material. And then we're also going to dive immediately into module 2 starting today. And we're going to be talking through it next Monday's call. All right. So we've got a lot to do, and let's get straight into it. I'm going to share my screen and let us go here. Cool. All right. So I'm going to fly through these slides pretty quick. And then at the end of every session we do here, I'm going to do open Q&A. The open Q&A, the entire intent here is to make sure that everybody's gotten what they need out of that particular module for the week and that no one's getting left behind. We're not going to leave any question unturned. And if we even need to go further, like if things start to stack on us and we got to get into it further, we do have the launch kit call coming up on Thursday as well. So we can revisit things there. Or if you're in a different module, you've already gone through this once before and you want to hit something else, that's fine. So Thursdays, just for everybody's sake, is going to be open format Q&A. We can talk about anything under the sun, whether it's your favorite color, what you're going to name your next dog, whatever you want, you know. But on these calls in particular, we're only going to be talking about the module that we're in. I want to keep it really compressed so that this becomes a resource asset for everybody that's going through it, both now and in the future, and the people that can't join us in real time. All right, cool. So let's get into it. Everybody can see my screen, I believe. So starting with the end in mind, right? This is a concept we go over quite a bit. And the idea here is that we want to knock out these 3 things as outlined in module 1. Everybody in the chat, drop a yes in the chat if you can, if you've gone through all videos of module 1. Let's do a little status check there. So everybody that has been through it is going to know what I'm talking about here. Looks like everybody has. Fantastic. Okay, cool. So you'll remember that Taylor talked about what we're going to work through here in the 30, 60, 90-day period, right? Well, we're going to compress that. And we're going to compress time by starting with a really clear in mind. If you guys have been through this material before, you'll notice that it's a little bit easier to go through it the second time. Why? Because you have absolute clarity of what the end result is supposed to look like. So your attention to detail is being narrowed down to the specific things you need action on in that moment versus just kind of taking it as it comes and you don't necessarily know what direction you're headed. So the idea here is I want to compress time for us so that you can move through these modules really, really quickly, but more importantly, with efficacy, like I want to make sure that we're really nailing down the details. When we took the tally on the call last week on the 1st, it seemed to be that most people are getting stuck in that offer and pricing area. Don't worry about that. We're going to talk about that today. So some of these modules, we're going to start off kind of easy. I don't expect everything, today to be all that difficult, honestly, for most people here, but I'm going to give you some little insights, some little additional things that you may or may not have thought of when going through module 1. So module 2, though, is where things start to compress, and we're going to compress time by going through module 2, where we look at your value proposition, strengths, and interests. Immediately into module 3, market analysis, where the needs, awareness, and sophistication in your market really come into the picture. Module 4 is the flagship offer creation, where we're going to talk about evolution of the offer itself and pricing. This is something, the pricing component in particular is going to be brand new. Taylor will be on with us on that one as well. And we're going to talk about some new methodologies to embrace that are going to make your business more durable, and you're going to find it's more stable. And so we're going to talk about some things that have developed as we've refined things here at TWC. I want to share some of those things with you so you can bolt them into your business right away, either from day one, or if you're coming back through this material with us again, that you can bolt it into your business as well. And then obviously module 5 rather is market activation, marketing, and sales. This is where this is what we call launch mode in the course. You'll remember, and this is where we actually get into the space of communicating with the market and doing the real things. So a lot of our time needs to be kind of in reserves for these 4 modules. There are obviously things before that you've already looked at, and there's gonna be a few things after that you're gonna look at. But this is really the meat of the entire launch kit process, and we have 4 weeks to do it. And it's absolutely doable. We're going to do it. but it's going to take some iteration. There's going to be some things that are going to be worked through on these calls, and it's going to be really good to be able to help you guys through it in this cohort process. Now, to compress time, there's a few notes here that I wanted to leave with you. Strategic vision alignment, developing a crystal clear vision that transcends short-term goals and aligns with the long-term trajectory of your business. That is why I had everybody start off with the life and habits assessments, because we can build anything we want, guys. Like if the idea is, I just want to make money and I want to, put an offer in the marketplace, we could do that like today, this afternoon. But is that why you are here? Probably not, right? You're probably here because you want to build something of significance, something of impact, something that truly resonates with who you are, your interests, etc. But also that's going to, indefinitely bring value to the marketplace and have, again, an impact in the market and with your audience, the people that you want to help or work with. So to do that, though, we need to have clear vision of what that end result looks like. And one of the best things we can do is make sure that we design our lives in a way that are going to support the business that we want. I've talked about this before, but I'll hit it really quickly. A lot of people go and spend a ton of time and attention developing a business and then going, okay, cool, I've got this whole business, the goals and everything I want. And then they try to figure out where they can cram their life in between the cracks that are left. We don't do that. We flip that around because that's an unstable way to build a business. There's too many stress cracks in that foundation when it's built like that. So we're going to flip that upside down and make sure that you have true clarity of what your life wants to look like first. And we're going to build a business that supports that life. And obviously there's some nuance there and there's some details that, it's going to take some emotional intelligence to figure out on your own, but it is an important piece of the game. We also want to ensure every decision, project, and resource is strategically aligned with the overarching vision, eliminating unnecessary detours and optimizing the path to success. And that's what the cohort process is going to be. Obviously, in the original curriculum, we're pushing everybody through a sequential series of concepts and systems and frameworks. What we're going to do is just compress it down to those key elements where people get stuck along the way and make sure that we spend the most time doing that. So that's why these cohorts are really going to be effective, because we're going to spend a lot less time on the bigger picture, make sure that we're getting all the small resources and details really filled in. We also need to be agile, innovation, and iteration. So embrace an agile mindset that fosters continuous innovation and rapid iteration. So rapid being the key word there, right? Encourage a culture where failures are viewed as stepping stones towards success, fostering a dynamic environment that adapts swiftly to changing landscapes. That's another element I'll get to in a minute. Implement agile methodologies in product development, project management, and overall business operations to shorten feedback loops and accelerate the learning and improvement cycle. So again, as you guys have probably, for those who have already gone through the curriculum and started acting out this in the marketplace, you probably found out fairly quickly that what you thought things were going to be may not have been the case. Would that be true or false? Just hit me in the chat whether that was a true or false statement. If when you first went to market with your initial offer, it was slightly different than what you thought it was going to be, or the market responded differently, whether that be positively or negatively, right? True, true, true. 2 years later, still finding new things. 100%. And that's one of the concepts here that I want to make sure that is clear, is that we are to be detectives, not inventors. So much time is spent trying to come up with new ideas, trying to analyze, sitting behind our screens, writing out on paper, like, oh, what should my offer be? And this and that. And we're going to get into this, so I'm not going to go exhaustive on the concept. I just really want to make sure that we embrace the concept that is not our responsibility to come up with a good idea here, or how do I monetize my offer in the marketplace? That should be a byproduct of finding an existing need, want, need, or desire in the marketplace, and then helping people do that better than they could on their own. That's it. Plain and simple. People will pay us in direct proportion to the amount of value or pain that we are bringing or solving for them, right? So we just need to get clear on those few things, and we're going to dive into that. Inversion secrets was another concept that Taylor covered. Again, You can go through that curriculum again whenever you want, but the concepts are pretty simple. First, you identify the beliefs, habits, and environments that would virtually guarantee failure, and then invert those to their direct opposite. Now, I highlighted or underscored these key words here: beliefs, habits, and environments. You will never outperform your beliefs. So we need to make sure that we have clarity of what the inverse looks like. What kind of beliefs would you have to virtually guarantee that you will not succeed in LaunchKit and you will not succeed in a business? Give me some examples that come to mind, guys. And feel free just to talk. This is an open mic, so I want you guys to go ahead and feel free to participate as well. Give me some concepts on a belief or paradigm that would virtually guarantee that you would not be successful in business.
You need to be perfect before you can start something.
Perfection. Love it. Anybody else?
If you build it, they will come.
Yeah. Good one.
This won't work. This won't work in my niche.
Okay. Good.
Care about the opinions of the wrong people.
Yes.
The activity that's perceived is more important than value, the benefit that I offer.
Hit me with that one more time. I like that. Hit it.
Of activity or work that I'm doing is more powerful than the benefit that is achieved.
Got it. Powell says feeling guilty for success. Not putting your offer out there, believing everyone already has it down. Other people are already doing what I want to do.
Not feeling worth that you can get what you want. Not feeling that worth.
Not feeling worthy of it. Love it.
Not listening to the clients.
Not listening to clients. Yep. So have you guys written this down? Hit me with a yes or no in the chat. Have you written down these beliefs and then inverted them to their direct opposite? A really simple way to do this is take a piece of paper, run a line down the middle, and write all the negative beliefs or thought patterns or paradigms that could hold you back. And then on the direct opposite side of that line, what is it? What would the inverse look like? It's a good habit to write it out physically. There's a lot of science to support that you'll embed it into your consciousness more if you do. And just the process of having to think through it and write it out, again, will distill your thinking. Cool. All right. So inversion, pretty straightforward. Now, another element that Taylor brings up, excuse me, is the morning formula. Prior to LaunchKit and going through this, in the chat, yes or no, had you already deployed a morning formula? Written out, specifically written out and revisited consistently through the week? Lots of people say yes. Dustin says no. It's in the works. No. Struggled a lot with this. Allison, what in particular was it? What did you struggle with? I'm interested.
I think just to visualize something that hasn't happened yet. Just to visualize and look ahead to see what is it that I really want and what does that actually look like. And so trying to articulate that, I really struggled with.
Mm-hmm.
It involves so much change.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, the morning formula is an interesting process. It's something I've done for years and years and years. It evolves. We're going to talk about this in a minute. It's what I call a living document. It's never static. If it's static, you're either dead or you quit, one of the two. So,
hey, Mike.
Yeah.
Real quick. So just that was sort of my experience back in CK, and what I've taken another approach to it, because in CK, I felt like I had to have it perfect. And one of the things I didn't understand that I do understand now is this whole component of like massive imperfect action. So that's why I said in my comment that it's in the works, because I started officially, I'd say Saturday, but I didn't want to force myself to just write a chunk of stuff that doesn't make sense to me just because it's due on Monday type thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I took a stab at the first part. I read through Taylor's a couple times. Also heard him say it in Nashville a couple weeks ago. And I started picking up like what I liked about his and sort of like tweaking it to myself. Not necessarily copy and pasting. But then I promised to myself that I'm just going to, it's going to take not a while, but a little bit, probably a week or two for me. And I'm using Siri a lot. So just plowing through and just speaking it out. And I know there's going to be a point on Saturday, for example, which is my heavy work day on launch kit, to actually start like simmering down the good quality stuff. Because what I can see in Taylor's is that every phrase is like bolted on. Like there's he doesn't spare a word basically.
Right. Yep. And that is absolutely a result of iteration and revisiting consistently over a long period of time. And so one of the things I would share with you guys, if you have any struggle, and yeah, Allison, thank you for sharing and just being transparent. That's an element of these cohort calls I really want to make sure that everyone's aware of and comfortable doing, is like, do not hold back. If something's not working for you, if you're stuck on something or whatever, this is the environment to bring it up, because collectively, whether it be myself or anybody else in the group, I want to make sure that we're all climbing up the mountain together at the same pace. And that can only happen if we're communicating. So, but one of the things that I found works really well in crafting the morning formula is to think of it in terms of like a big block of granite, and we're sculptors. And when you're first looking at this big block, you don't really know what it's going to look like at the end. You have this idea, but it's still really hard to perfectly envision the final, piece of art, right? You're like, man, how's this chunk block going to turn into this beautifully articulated form of whatever it is that we're creating? And that's how it is in life too. Like the farther and farther you go out, the blurrier and blurrier it gets, right? And so it's really hard to create this perfectly articulated vision of what you want your life to look like in 2 years, much less 5 or 10, right? And so my suggestion for this is to first just brainstorm, just free flow and write, and get a bunch of different concepts out as if nothing could hold you back. Like there is no way that anything that you write couldn't happen. Whatever you can think of, write it down and just get it out of your head. And then what you can start to do is start chipping away at some of the elements. Some of it you'll realize, well, that's cool, but that's not actually what I really want. It's just an idea I had. Great, cross it off. Or, whatever it is that you're writing out, what's easier is to get rid of what you don't want. And so like when a sculptor is looking at these big blocks of granite, they're not trying to necessarily put in the sculpture, that the final piece of art that they're looking to build. They're just taking away everything that isn't that piece or that piece of art, right? So it's a lot easier to look at something and go, well, I definitely don't want that. I definitely don't want that, because it just stands out so quickly to us. We're like, well, yeah, that's definitely not something I'm interested in doing. Great, get rid of it. But just get it out of your head on paper and start chipping away at the granite of all the different ideas and concepts, and immediately just go for all the stuff that you don't want. And then whatever's left, that's when you start to really dig in more high resolution detail. Like, oh, well, what would it look like if I had this, house? Or what would it look like if I lived in this country? Or what would it look like if I had this type of family environment or whatever, right? And you can dig in a little bit deeper. But at the first pass, just think of it in like multiple stages. And the first stage is just to get rid of the things that you definitely know you don't want. And typically the brain will pick up on those fairly quickly. But you have to have something to work with. So just staring at a blank piece of paper or a blank screen and trying to articulate a perfectly crafted vision for your life in 10 years from now is really challenging. So I would suggest doing the inverse of that. Just put a bunch down and then start just getting rid of a bunch of other stuff. The things that you definitely don't want, whatever's left over, that's when you start to dig in on a second pass and third pass and start fine tuning it. That's kind of just a little tactic. Let me give you guys a few more. When writing out the formula, I found if you can write it out as though it's your obituary, I know it sounds a little bit morbid, but it's actually a pretty interesting concept. What would you want your grandchildren to know and say about you? What would you want somebody to read at your funeral and be able to say about your life, about the impact that you had on them, around your family, around others in your network? What would you want them to be able to say? That's a really interesting place to start. And it speaks to the very beginning of our call together here, right? Starting with the end in mind. Imagine what this would look like. What would you want people to be able to say? Start macro and then start to drill in and go more micro. Once you have a version 1.0 or 2.0 of your morning formula, record an audio file of it and then listen to it while working out. A really interesting thing will happen. There's two things. Number one, listening to yourself and hearing your words back at you, you'll quickly start to realize, well, hang on, that doesn't really make sense, or I don't really like that, or ooh, that's a good idea, but what if I did this instead? So when you start hearing the story being told back to you, things are going to stand out a lot differently. It's kind of like, who here, give me a raise of your hands, has done any speaking on stage and had their presentation recorded? Just raise your hand so I can see you. It's kind of different, right? For those that have. It's an interesting element when you watch yourself back. True or false, put it in the chat. Did the presentation feel different than it looked? Yes or no, true or false? Yes, yes, yes. It felt different to you than what it looked like, right? Now, for me personally, my first few times on stage being recorded, I thought I did a fairly good job. I thought I, enunciated well. I thought I was speaking well. But when I watched it back, I stood in place. I never got from behind the little pulpit thing. I was holding on to it as if it was like my safety chair. And I said a bunch of ums, ahs, right? Like all kinds of stuff. I could go on. I could annihilate myself with all the mistakes I made along the way, right? So, but what I thought I did and what I heard and saw were very different. And this is the same thing as when we hear back our morning formula. So I'd really suggest listening back to it, make the adjustments, and then record it again. Listen to it, make adjustments, do it again. And what will happen is you will refine it faster. And then once you get a version that you feel pretty good about, the cool thing is now just keep listening to it. Like just drill it into your memory and your subconscious. Your memory will not make the distinction between that memory or what is real or what has been true, right? So start to drill that into your subconscious. It absolutely is a little hack that works. Another strategy that you can do that we didn't talk about in the original curriculum is building a second Instagram account and using it as a vision board. This is a cool thing. Think about it. I want everybody to stop for a minute and just think about what I'm saying. I want you to first imagine a little single-story house with a big tree in the front, a perfectly green manicured yard. There's a white picket fence, a really nice driveway, granite driveway on the right, leading up to a garage door. The garage door is open and your dream car is there, sitting in the driveway. And I want you to just imagine standing on the sidewalk, looking at your home and just being like, wow, look at this. This is such a great place. This is exactly the home that I envisioned that I'd want. Cool. Now, when I was saying those things, were you imagining the words white picket fence, WHITE, fence, FENCE, granite driveway, or, green yard, GREEN yard, right? No, you weren't imagining the words, you were imagining the pictures. Your brain thinks in pictures. So when we can install this imagery into your brain, it's far more powerful. So when creating a vision board, that's why vision boards are so powerful. If you have one, I have one over here. It's out of picture, but I see it every single day. And it's changed over time and more things get added to it. But the power of seeing this imagery on a regular basis. And the cool thing about Instagram doing this is that you can kind of almost create like an avatar for yourself, like a second identity in a way. Like what would the perfect my ideal version of myself, what would they post? What would they have on in their photos? And just screenshot stuff online and load it up. And so when you're stuck at well, maybe you shouldn't be at a light scrolling through Instagram, but we'll say when you're stuck somewhere and you got time and you're scroll through imagery and just be impressing upon your mind the types of images that you want to be looking at. It's either that or you're looking at some randomly algorithmic fed, flow of content that you have zero control over. So what are you going to feed your mind? Something that, Meta's feeding you, or something that you're purposely installing into your psyche, right? I think there's a pretty easy choice. Scheduling this time in your calendar like you would an appointment. This is another component. The mornings are busy. I'll be honest. One of my biggest struggles with the morning formula is just that ideally I kind of hit the ground running. I go pretty quick. And so I found it challenging to do this. And so what I had to do is actually create a piece in my daily routine that was specifically dedicated just to sitting, drinking some water, and going through the morning formula process. And then lastly, plan to edit over time. Like we already talked about, this is a living document. If your morning formula is not revisited, I'd say every quarter. That would be ideal, every quarter, I would say. Definitely every 6 months. Anything longer after a year is probably already stale. Gonzalo, the issue I found this morning is that I'm more excited to go through LK content than going through the morning formula.
I know it's an excuse, but still.
Yeah, totally. So in these types of instances, and this could be because you want to go through content or you want to do anything else, like something else, right? Use this as a reward mechanism. Hey, once I finish this process, then I can go do this. Give yourself a little bit of a, reward essentially. And if you guys have heard this concept before, eat the frog. Eat the frog is an old term, basically stating like, get the one thing you don't like doing out of the way first in the morning. And then already your brain, Brian Tracy, exactly. Thank you. You're already like on your way in your day. So morning formula for me is a bit arduous, but again, if you have it in audio form and you're listening to it while you work out, now you're kind of, multitasking, right?
Share something helpful on this. It's been like super insightful for me.
Yeah, go for it.
So when I was closing at TNF, one thing that I used to do in my truck is I would play like a house music or some type of like any energy inducing instrumental, and then I would just read my morning formula out loud. So it's kind of like Tony Robbins calls incantations. And then by the time I walked into the office, I was just ready to like run through a brick wall. So I thought that might help others on the call too.
I love that. Yeah, we're energetic beings, guys. I mean, you can get all, down the rabbit hole on this stuff as much as you want, but ultimately you cannot deny the fact that we are energetic beings and we are all operating on frequencies. And so we control our state. And it's very easy to just stay in a very stable, static state, which is fine for getting through your days. But we're not here to get through our days. We're here to transform the trajectory of our business and of our lives. That cannot happen at sub-performing frequencies. Like we need to be above frequency. If you're continually getting the same results over and over and over again, there's something wrong in the frequency you're operating in. There's a disconnect there. So we need to be open to the idea that we need to do something different. If we're getting the same result over and over again, what does that mean? We shouldn't be expecting different results if we're doing the same thing over and over again. So therefore, what do we need to do? We need to change what we are doing. And one of the quickest ways to change what we're doing is to change how we're feeling. And that's the concept of the morning formula is indoctrinating our brain into the concept of what is it that we want to feel? What frequency is it that we want to operate on? All right, let's wrap up. Only a couple more slides here, and then we'll get into some Q&A, and we'll get into the Module 2 prep. So daily habits. These are 4. This isn't, the end-all be-all list by any stretch. But my proposal to you is that you have a set criteria of must-hit daily habits, things that you do in the morning and in the evening that are non-negotiables. This is a concept I've shared before, talking about book ending your days. We can't really control what happens through us throughout the day, all day long. Like, it's just not going to happen, especially when you start getting in business, you're getting on the phone, you're getting hit by clients, you're getting hit by this and that. Like, things go kind of crazy during the middle. It's imperative as entrepreneurs to prime our state, prime the frequencies that we're operating on by bookending our days, the beginning and the end. If we can do that, we're going to be perpetually reset and primed for the following day. So what would be your daily habits? My suggestion would be 3, no more than 4. If it's more than 4, it's probably going to be hard to stay consistent with it unless they're very small or somehow associated together. But the concepts here are pretty simple. This would be something that you could use as a daily habits for every single day. Content consumption. What are you reading to make yourself smarter, to make yourself more valuable to your TAM, to your total addressable market? If you're not getting smarter, everybody around you, all your competitors are, or at least the ones that are going to take on the market share, right? So we want you to be one of those people. So what is it that you are going to be doing to get smarter in that specific niche or vertical that you're in? Content published, add value to the market. This is a big one. Some people really struggle, some people don't. I'd like a yes or a no. Do you struggle with producing content daily? Yes or no? Cool. Good. Now there's multiple facets of benefit here to creating content. Number one, it forces your brain to think through and process information and get your messaging clearer and clearer, right? It's just like doing reps at the gym. Like, you just have to do it repetitively over and over and over again to build that muscle. You get better at it over time, for sure. The other lag indicator or secondary benefit to it is obviously that you're pumping value into the market. You're putting out your messaging, your identification, your USP, unique service proposition, into the marketplace. And not doing that is like having the sign on the front of your business that says closed. Every single time that every single day that goes by that you're not putting out messaging into the market is another day that you have the sign closed on the front of your door. We got to flip that sign around, guys. And there's so many different ways that we can get into once we get into this process. Module 5 is where we go launch mode, and we'll talk about hyper organic. There's a lot of different things I can share with you there that will be relatively new. But I don't want to wait then, because remember, we're compressing time. So my proposition to you is that you need to figure out how to publish content regularly, literally daily, into your marketplace, because it's like priming the pump for your market. And there's a lag effect between what we do today and the benefits that we reap later, right? So it's like planting those seeds today. We can't expect them to harvest tomorrow. So we better start planting now. So if you're brand new into LaunchKit here, then I'm really fast tracking you. I'm pressing this because we're talking about things that that aren't until module 5, but we're going to compress this down. So Pal, you've been a great example of this, man. Consistency on Twitter has really paid off. And then there's the algorithmic effect. The algorithms are going to favor your content when you show that consistency. Why is that? Because Meta, Zuckerberg, Facebook, every single social media platform out there wants to keep people on platform, right? Because that's what makes them more valuable to their advertisers and to their shareholders, right? So how do they do that? Well, they favor those who are producing more content. Remember, these social platforms are nothing without our content. They're literally nothing. Like, they don't produce anything. They're just basically a platform that we put all our thoughts and ideas onto. So we are literally feeding the algorithm. And when we do that consistently, we'll get favored. So it's an important play. Now, content can be a lot of different things. It can be video. It can be written. It could be emails. It could be podcasts. It could be articles. You name it. Like, there's so many different ways. But pick a vehicle that resonates with you, and most importantly, that you believe will reach your intended audience, and figure out, like, what am I going to do on a daily basis to communicate? Make sure that the sign on the front of my building doesn't say closed. Another key one here that we're going to get into, again, I'm pushing the needle here because this is a more of a concept we'll revisit in module 5, but it's presenting your offer daily. Your number one daily KPI, key performance indicators, how many people per day have you presented your offer to? How many people per day had the opportunity to say yes or no to what it is that you bring to the marketplace? If it's zero, it's zero. That's fine, but we have to measure this number. And then lastly, we already talked about morning formula. You'll never outperform your mindset or beliefs. All right, the last one is, okay, well, let's hit that, Gonzalo. What do you exactly mean with presented? So this could be, it could be sales calls. It could be via DMs, whatever methodology you're going to use to convert interest into clients. So it's a buying conversation. It's somebody that's being presented with enough information to make an educated decision as to whether or not they want to employ your services or product. Now, you remember at the very top, we talked about, where was it? Beliefs, habits, and environments, right? Environments. This is something we haven't really talked a lot about, but it's high performance environments. I'd really encourage you, and this is a little bit of your homework for today, is to consider, where am I working? Where am I going to do all this work that we're about to do, modules 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 together? Is this in a set place in your home? Ideally, it would be somewhere consistent. And wherever this environment is, I'd like you to consider and just look around you, and what is it in this environment that could potentially keep me away from hitting my goals? Remember, this is an inversion concept. What is around me right now that could distract me from hitting my goals? Now, if you're in a completely blank wall space, then there's probably nothing. And maybe that would be the most ideal, or maybe not. And I'll get to that in a second. But a lot of people are working their business as though it's just, it's a weekend and they're sitting on their couch in their laptop. That's not a high performance environment. When you go to work, go to work. When you're home, be home. As an entrepreneur, most of us are probably operating in our own homes or home offices or in a timeshare office or whatever it may be, a flex space, etc. But if your working hours are spent sitting at a table in Starbucks because the Wi-Fi is free, my suggestion to you is that that's probably not the highest performing environment. Because there's so many distractions. There's so many opportunities for you to be pulled off of flow state. So let's go inversion secrets. On a piece of paper, your homework is going to be to write down anything you see in your immediate environment. Like, I'm looking around here. What do I have? Well, I have books. Is that going to be a problem? No. Am I going to be just, totally drawn to want to pull one of these books out and read it in the middle of my day? Not unless I'm supposed to and want to, right? What else do I have around me? I've got my second monitor over here to the left that has nothing but my time block calendar, which we get into in module 6, and my Google calendar, which has all my calls and itinerary for the day in front of me. Pretty much that keeps me on track. I have my notes, my little notebook that keeps up. So like, as something pops up or if someone has a question or whatnot from the team, I can just jot that down. So I have instant recall. I can quickly go down and write anything down that I want to right away. I'm looking around. I already told you I got my vision board over here across the room, so I can see that at any given point. And that's pretty much it. Other than a few like elements of like a picture, inspiring elements. I've got like, an image here. I've got a painting immediately behind my screen here that you can't see. And that's it. Pretty basic. No distractions. Ben, I'm in my home office, and it's a room completely separated as an office. There's nothing else in here other than work related stuff. Does anybody have any questions on this before we go on? High performance environments. Feel free to talk.
Well, at LME, we travel a lot. So we're always kind of on the road. And that's literally the lifestyle that we want to build our business around. And I've been having some struggles with exactly what you just said. I mean, for example, here we have a room, we have a terrace. There's a co-working space downstairs here. Do you have any experience or any tips for like building the business while you travel?
Yeah, absolutely, man. One of the mantras that I hold for myself when I'm being presented with different business opportunities is that if I'm ever going to invest or purchase a business, is that it has to be run remotely. I have to be able to operate remotely. Now, that doesn't mean that it can't be a building somewhere. It's just I don't want to be in an environment where I have to be there for a business to function, right? And so one of my, factors that I always run, or filters, if you will, that I always run business opportunities through is whether or not I can run a business remotely with Wi-Fi and laptop. Those are the two prerequisites. Sounds like it's probably where you guys are running. I've spent a ton of time on the road. Like for over 10 years, I was constantly on the road for this other business that I was consulting with. And I was in the field for sales and managing all their teams. So I was constantly in new environments. And so what I would do is familiarize myself with the hotels that would offer the amenities that I wanted in terms of the rooms. So some rooms would have like, the desk and a chair. And I just need to make sure that there was a small setup space for me. And then my bag that I'd have with me would always have, obviously my own Wi-Fi. So I was never dependent on someone else's Wi-Fi. I'd have my laptop. I'd have all my little books and everything. And as soon as I get into the hotel room, I would move the furniture around for it to feel like my little workspace there. I was literally like pushing beds against walls, pulling out desks, moving chairs. Like I completely would rearrange the room to make it feel like it was my workspace.
Well, he has that. I can show you that.
Perfect. Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I'm in the kitchen table.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? It's like, again, this may or may not affect you, more than others. My environment really matters to me, but I am able to, all right, Anthony. Yep. We'll catch you. I'm able to adjust where needed, but I really try to limit the amount of time that I'm in environments that are not high performance if I'm intending to be high performance. Because here's what happens. Can you sit in your car with your laptop and do work and take calls? Sure, of course you can. But just the variables there and the distractions that are caused and the inability to like get into flow state, the amount of time and effort that can be produced or that is drawn in that one activity, I can compress that down probably by at least 30 to 50% if I was just in my own environment. Like I can work so much faster. I can get so many things more done more efficiently if I'm in like a high performance environment. So all that to say, we can't always control it, but when you can, do whatever you can to limit the amount of distractions you have, both pop-ups, notifications, things like that. Like just figure out what makes sense for you. For me too, the aroma in a room is like really critical. So I have like these, I don't even know what you call them. You guys probably know what they're called, but you know what the little sticks that stick out? It's like, what are those things called? I'm like slipping.
Diffusers?
Yeah, like infuser type thing or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even know what they're called, but I know what they smell like and I like it. So I order them and they show up every month and they're nice and fresh and just keeps reed diffusers. Thank you guys. Little things like that, like just prime the room so that when you step into it, you're like, yeah, I'm ready to go to work. There should be a very different feeling when you step into your office. You're like, I'm here to work. I've had guys that would even, put on the tie and the jacket and everything. Like they go to work. You know what I mean? If that's what it takes for you, do it. I'm all about it. whatever makes you get into that state of like, I am here, I'm going to get work done, because that energy and that vibe is going to stand out, especially when you start getting on the phone with sales and the whole thing. So definitely worthy of doing. The last little piece here, I actually found the original piece of paper that I made or wrote on years ago. Like, I don't even know how old this is, but it's old. And I just wrote down some statements that I want to keep in front of my face all the time. And that's going to be my last little piece for you guys, is to refuse to be distracted. Distraction is like the ultimate kryptonite for an entrepreneur. And distraction can be applied through good things. It's not even a negative thing. It's not like, oh, a buddy came over with a 12-pack and is telling you to like ditch everything and go to a game or whatever. No, I'm saying like distraction could be another module or a new book showing up on your doorstep from Amazon, or, you know what I mean? Like these can be good things, but they're not the main thing. You got to keep the main thing the main thing. And so I would suggest writing out. You don't have to use the things that I'm using here. I'll upload this deck to LaunchKit, so you guys can have this deck. But yeah, come up with some statements that are going to keep you on track throughout the day. Just as perpetually remind your mind, hey, where am I right now? Where should I be? Be here now. Fee, can you expand on that? Focus blocks?
Sure. Focus blocks is a worldwide phenomenon. So people from all over the world get together in an environment like this and have a time where we record. We do a commitment at the beginning of the exercise. So like, these are the things that you're going to do that are in a very specific time. I mean, in that time frame, and it might be, I got to do 20% of a video, 1%, 10% of something, and just like really in task. And then you do the work, and then you come back and you report it to that person every single hour. And they do it 24 hours a day, 6 days a week.
Wow. Yeah, that's significant.
I can give everybody a free month if they want it. But yeah, it's amazing. I've used it for like 2 years.
Nice. Yep. There's all kinds of trackers. When we bring on new people to the team here, we have them monitor their time. There's all kinds of different software that does it. It's a pretty interesting way to monitor the use of time and making sure that we're not confusing the activity with productivity, because there obviously is a pretty big difference. All right, guys, let's get into it. I'm going to move some things around on my side so I can see you all again. There we go. Any questions on any element of module 1? Again, this is about as easy as it's going to get, because we're going to very quickly start moving into more tactical elements of the business development process. But is there anything that people are stuck on with module 1?
Hey, Mike.
Yeah.
On the 4 daily activities of, consuming, producing, publishing, when presenting your offer. So if I'm not totally nailed down on the offer, might that look like reaching out to people in an effort to just get immediate feedback, like proposing an interaction that might help me develop my offer? Is that kind of what you'd recommend?
Yeah, great point. Great point. So as we go into module 2, that's a great segue, Michael. The idea here is that we got to start communicating with our market, because what we believe the market wants and what it actually knows it wants or thinks it wants can be different things. And so the only way to filter through all this is to, again, to your point, communicate with the market, get out there. So yeah, in this instance, instead of it being, well, presenting my offer, if you don't have an offer to present yet, then what the heck are we going to do, right? Well, we're going to communicate with the marketplace. So this could be replaced with talk to 5 people in my TAM per day, something like that. Like, again, what gets measured gets done. So you can attribute whatever the benchmark number is, but in the earlier going ons, and we'll get into all this when we start getting to offer creation and refinement, but I can't tell you guys how many times I've worked with clients who had this passion for this one particular thing. I want to do this life coaching thing, and I want to teach people how to, I don't know, walk on water, and you're like, cool. I'm love the fact that you're so, dedicated to this concept, but how many people are willing to pay for this? You know what I mean? Like how many people are prepared to do what you're wanting to do? And so making that distinction between what you're passionate about, what your background is, to what the market wants and needs can be very different things. So we need to think through that. And the only way to do it is to talk to as many people as we possibly can. Ben, I see your hand raised. Or Adele, or one of you.
Yeah. I have also a question about because I have a little bit of irritation with my morning formula in terms of I have a hard time seeing myself on calls from morning to evening. And I think that comes from because I think I also wrote about that in the group. I recently started a venture with a business partner where we're building a community, sell front-end sales automatically, and we're building a community with residual income. And it feels to me that this is more and more what I want my offer to look like. Not being on the call, on say 5 sales calls a day and then coaching calls in the evening, something like this. So how would you say, does that involve in the launch kit process? Will I, do you think it will be possible to build something like that too?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you went there because that's something I want to bring up too, because we've had a lot of different questions, come up like, well, I just want to sell a low end, low ticket, $97 a month community subscription.
Yeah, something like that.
Where you're not necessarily going to do sales calls for that, right? No problem. The reason why we go through this launch kit, or rather the flagship offer concept, is because depending on your background, experience, your market, etc., how many $97 memberships do you have to sell before it starts actually equating to something significant? You know what I mean? Like it can be a pretty difficult to do for some people. For others, it's the easiest and least resistance. Great. If that's you, then do it. But when you have a mid-ticket to higher ticket offer, again, 1,500 being the minimum to 15,000 being, a typical higher end, you only have to sell a few of those before you make a pretty significant dent in your revenue objectives for the month, and so that's where going through launch kit in a online format by yourself, we have to pick and choose for people, right? Because we don't know what environment they're going to be in and what their necessary background experiences. And so we pick the path of the fastest path to profit, which is a mid to higher ticket, flagship offer. But again, if that's not what you guys want to do, we can absolutely build around it, and I'll help you as we go through the process.
Hey, Mike. Sorry, go ahead. Ben,
no, I've been in sales kind of forever. It just feels like I'm doing the same thing, just with coaching calls on top of that, and of course, way more money. But then I saw with my venture that I started now, how fast he builds up a community and how many front-end sales he just sells. So I'm like, okay, that more goes into the lifestyle that I want to live in that sense, like strategically sitting, building something, writing, and just having meetings with the business partners, and then maybe 1 or 2 coaching calls a week for a group. So that was more the thought process behind it.
Totally. And that's where we have to look at the lifestyle and the habits assessments first, right? And know, what are we building? That's where this long-term vision has to come into play, so that you can take the information that we're going through and filter it for your own needs. I think a lot of people, as they go through LaunchGate, get stuck like, well, you want me to fill out this form and it's got to be five questions. And, it's like, well, look, if the form's not working for you for whatever reason, like, ditch it and go do something else. But the end result stays the same, which is go talk to the market. Like, if that means going and doing network events and meeting people face to face, then do that instead, if that's more comfortable. Again, it's the end result that we're looking for. And that's where, the process is going to flex depending on who you are, again, your offer, your experience, etc. So don't get hung up on the details, filter what we're going through and make it custom to you 100%.
Cool. Thank you.
So Mike, just a quick follow-up on Ben. So, I've been at that dichotomy that you just mentioned from 1,500 to 15,000 right now, where I feel like I'm hitting like the higher end of the offer, at least with the avatars, the ICPs that I'm shooting for, which is about somewhere around 4K, and then a success fee that doesn't always materialize because not everybody gets the job done and succeeds. So I'd say that it's about a anywhere between 4 and 6K. Plus then obviously any potential upsells into other programs, other growth programs. So top client lifetime value right now is at 10, 12K. So what I'm looking right now is to build that community to maximize my volume. How would you say, and probably this is a bit far ahead, like I'm getting ahead of ourselves in here in LK, but how would you say you would like dial in, that balance between margin and volume, basically, which is, correct me if I'm wrong, it's basically what we're talking about here.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So we'll get into pricing because there's a lot of nuance. And again, we're going to actually talk about the MRR model as well, right? So monthly recurring revenue. That changes things significantly. So there's no right or wrong here. But ultimately, and it's also not static. So like when people are first starting out, I think when I had my first agency offer, I think it was like $2,500. Like really low. And yet, hey, but I was getting started and I just wanted reps. So I brought the bar down to a price point that I felt, number one, really comfortable and confident. I knew for sure at $2,500, I'm like giving this thing away to them. So my confidence on calls or communicating on any level with people was really high because I felt very confident that I was completely over delivering for them. So starting there is fine. Get some reps, get some testimonials, get some numbers on the board, and then you can always incrementally go up. Whatever we do today is not permanent. We can always increase the price later too.
Gotcha. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
Yeah. I would always suggest people pricing things out. And again, we're going to visit this as we get into the upcoming modules, but price things to where your confidence is like really high at first. Don't do it stupidly low, but do it to the point where you just know, oh man, like it's dumb for this person not to take me up on this offer.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. I actually get the feeling, and my pricing is actually not that low, but I actually do get sometimes that feeling that some clients feel at the end of their program that they're getting a steal, or not a steal per se, but like way over, and that's why they refer the heck out of me, and and that's a catch there. So, but I don't want to elongate this any further. We have 4 months.
Yeah, we're going to get there. We're definitely going to get there. And the MRR model changes things dramatically. The math involved is completely different, where you can get people in even lower price, but they stay on board, right? Longer, and so now all of a sudden, like you can lower the barrier to entry for people to where it's a no brainer up front, but then they stay on longer and things like that. So again, we'll leave that as an open loop for you guys for the upcoming calls. So again, we have the launch kit call scheduled for Thursday. So if you have questions above and beyond what we talked about today, you can absolutely join me for those. We'll probably turn those into like some tactical training too. I'll try to come to the 2 launch kit calls each month with some additional training that we'll add to the vault area. So just know that we'll try to keep those things fresh for you. So yeah, the homework, guys, is nail down those morning formulas if you haven't already, as much as you can. Know that you're going to revisit them. I would definitely suggest trying the audio thing. It's a pretty cool little hack that will really like change the way that you view the process and what you think of it. And I'll end with this. You should be able to listen to that audio and be excited. You should feel it in here like, oh man, like, yeah, I'm ready for that, or I want that. So you need to be able to speak it and articulate those thoughts in a way that gets you excited. If you can't be excited for your future, no one else is going to be. If you don't believe in yourself, no one else is going to, right? So we've got to get comfortable with the idea of what we want our future state to look like, and thinking with the end in mind is a really good way to do it. All right, now let's look really quick. I want to go through the curriculum on module 2 and then we're done. Course. Okay, yeah. So ideal client identification, message clarity. This is where people start to get a little stuck. So dive into it. Module 2, the idea is that you're going to have completed all these. I mean, there's literally 1 hour of video content. It's not hard. Get through that. And we'll be ready to rock and roll on the 12th, which is next Monday. All right.
So just to clarify, Mike, for next Monday is morning formula done if we don't have it done, and then module 2 go through all the videos and all the sheets, which I actually started this morning. I believe it's 3 of them, right? The problems one. Yeah,
Strengths Finder.
Yes, that's it. That's it.
Then you have all the client psychology ones.
Yep.
And I think that's it. Let me look. Yeah, that's it. And those ones, again, these are version 1.0, guys. Like, do not get hung up on it. But the biggest thing here is that I see the biggest place that people get stuck in this process. We can give you a little taster ahead of time, just so that you're primed to get into it. Is that a lot of people put their own psychology into the worksheets instead of being truly detective and like analytical and going, the market is telling me this. Like, they're inserting what they want the market to say. They're inserting what they think the market is going to say instead of what it is actually saying.
Yeah.
I really want to challenge you guys with this, because it's a subtle thing, but it is dramatically different results when you are being hyper objective about what the market is telling you. If no one is responding to what our offer is later down the line here, doesn't mean you're bad, doesn't mean that's not good, or it just means your idea, your hypothesis of what the market is thinking it wants is not what the market wants. The challenge is too, this, where this haunts people the most? The more experienced, the people that have been in their game longer. They struggle. They're like, oh, I've been in this game 12 years and I know exactly what my clients want. You're like, okay, all right. And then they go through this process and it's like dial tone, or they realize like, man, I'm still just stuck at the same level. Yeah, because you keep inserting the same beliefs and thoughts on top of something that isn't actually there. And that's where we start getting into market sophistication. You as an expert are probably correct. That's the tricky part. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying you're probably right, but the market might not know what it wants. So that's why you get fitness routines that are pushing imagery of guys that are ripped and six packs and this and that and lifting weights, because people are like, yeah, that's what I need. That's what I want. And yet what do they not do? They don't talk about like measuring broccoli and like doing all the mundane, drink water, you know what I mean? Like all the things that are actually doing a significant piece of the work, right? So they don't package their offer with what the market needs. They're packaging their offer with what the market thinks it wants. Once they're in, then they introduce what they actually need. And this is going to get us down the road into the offer creation process. So I'm already kind of skipping ahead, but we're compressing time. So what the hell? Cool. All right, guys. Well, we're already at our hour, a little bit beyond it. So I will upload this slide deck from today into the Launch Kit Module 1 as an additional piece, along with this video, and any takeaways or catch points along the way. Use the cohort space for it. And let's continue the dialogue there. And I love seeing your guys' fitness challenges. I already missed 2 days because of a family trip to Vegas. So someone's going to beat me already. I already know, but it's all right. I'm going to keep fighting. It's pouring rain today. I'm still going to go and exercise. So keep on it, because how we operate with our physical bodies, how our mental bodies are going to do it, right? Cool. All right, guys. Have a good one. Love you guys. See you in the channels.